say welcome back to shorts and beer weather, but after yesterday, like...
How is that? I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
Yesterday in Brisbane was boiling.
Yeah.
Like,
nuts.
the humidity on stage was insane. I was
Yeah.
drenched in a song. I was like, oh, summertime. And
I
then...
was sitting there, like, I had a beautiful breeze on me, and I'm like, the sun's too... Like, all I had to do was,
Yeah.
stay in one spot, and I'm like, God, this is a rough
Yeah.
day. It's really, really hard. I'm not the one having to do, like, press and run around. Actually play in a music band.
Yeah. Well, on the way down, we were like, oh, rain, oh, no, sunshine. And then, like, 10 minutes ago, I was like, I'm freezing. Turn all the air conditioning off in the car,
Yeah.
put jeans on and a jacket. I'm like, this is summer?
Nuts.
I just left this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, almost like the change in weather. I'd like flown from Melbourne and like got like to Brisbane when it was super hot, and it was so hot I had like a nosebleed, and I was like, that's rock and roll. No,
You know that's the
Yeah.
real power of nature right
Yeah,
there. Blood comes
absolutely.
out of your nose because the heat. Wow.
I wish I had a better story, like I got knocked or something.
No, that's
but
pretty solid. I've
yeah.
never heard of someone getting a blood nose just from heat. So yeah, well
definitely.
done.
You've had a bit of time off this year. Was it nice to just do absolutely nothing? At
Yeah.
points, like obviously not. Yeah.
Nothing for us is always something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice to be able to plan our tours more. Like the time off that we do have is a bit more focused in it being like off time. So we definitely can unwind a little bit more. So that's been nice. But at the same time, like we've been writing a bit, and we did the book, and we've toured, and we've done some pretty crazy tours. So it's definitely hasn't been like lazy, which is yeah.
Just not as hectic, especially
Just
after
not as
Atlas.
hectic, yeah. So yeah.
I know that you actually like went to as a kid to the first Warped.
Yeah.
Wasn't back in the 90s?
Yeah.
Did like Blink headline?
Yeah. Blink headlined the first one. I think Pennywise headlined the second one. Maybe I was wrong. Pennywise definitely played the second one. But it was like for at least half the band, it was the first gig we ever went to.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
I mean,
And
it's like little grommets, like
full on little grommets, and it was at the Byron Bay like footy oval, and just dusty as hell, and crowd surf for the first time, and it was going to the show that I'd never seen a punk band before that.
Right.
Like I'd listened to them, but like all of a sudden all these bands I listened to were playing the one day, and I can remember one of my friends going, "You going to Warped Tour?" And I was like, "What the hell is Warped Tour?"
Right.
And then they showed me, and they're like, "It's all these bands playing," and I was like, "Oh my god." I think everyone other than Frenzel were like all my favourite bands other than Frenzel were playing. I was like, this is insane. And it was right before Blink exploded as well, just after Dude Ranch.
Yeah. And then obviously like as your first like show, like your first festival, like seeing your first bands, like that's a great way, and it kind of like has like a little soft spot in your heart.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like Warped has a massive like spot in our heart, alone like in the I guess the iconography of Parkway's history has a big spot, and the fact that we've done it a bunch in the States and we've just got offered in Europe as well, like it's cool to be a part of. It's especially considering like it was always such a punk festival back then as well, and it's evolved with the times to the point where we can start out as punk kids going to it and be playing in this heavy as hell band now and still be able to play Warped. Is really, really cool.
And like I guess like the passionate thing about Warped is it's a little bit more reckless. Like it's not.
It definitely is.
Just anything goes.
Yes. Yeah. It's good. It's a great tour to do. Yeah.
Awesome. There's not a specific template with Parkway, and in my opinion, you always strive to like push forward the aesthetic appeal. Does excessive touring affect your previous recordings or inspire them?
Definitely inspire. We're definitely a band that kind of works better when it comes to capturing live. We work on live ideas and then try and capture them in a recorded environment, as opposed to record some songs and then figure out how to play them live. So that's definitely the way it works for us.
Does the isolation come into effect at all?
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
the way that you write.
Yeah,
Being
definitely.
away from home.
Definitely, yeah. Like it affects lyrically, it affects a massive amount, because you're talking about large amount of times contained with a small amount of people in faraway places, sleep deprived, and away from the person I care about the most. So it's one of those things. So at the same time, like I write a hell of a lot when I'm at home, but a lot of stuff gets written on the road.
And it's probably like real happy music.
Yeah. The stuff at home is just like, this is great. There's a whole side project of children's
really?
Christmas carols. The
like
nicest
rainbows.
fluffy. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I'm really happy with my life. I'm so happy at home. Do I have to go back on
exactly.
the road?
Yeah. The ones that don't make the cut.
Yeah. Oh, you really should like do like a little B-side.
Yeah.
Like unplugged.
Yeah.
Just take it up.
Happy Parkway, the other
have
side.
to,
Yeah.
Maybe like not wear black.
Yeah.
On the topic of touring, do you think your instinct to play in remote parts of the world comes from being kids in Byron and, losing your shit when bads would come through? So now you have the opportunity to transfer that feeling to other tiny pockets of the planet.
100%, yeah. And it started off in Australia, like with the first All Ages Assault tour we did and getting to play regional places. And it literally was like going to places that bands don't go, and we said, why don't people go there? Just because it's a small town doesn't mean it's going to be good, not be good. And like, we're spot on the money. Like every time we go to these places no one went, the shows would be insane. And then it's awesome that we've been able to transfer that, on a global scale. And it literally is one of those things like, the further you go, the crazier the show gets. And it doesn't matter how many people rock up, the crazier the show gets. And it's really, really good.
And that's kind of what I've been learning, especially about this industry. Bands, like, it's not really at a point of the money. It's like whether you're paying to 10 people or 10,000 people, those 10 people know your shit and they pay to pay to see you. Do you know
exactly,
what I mean? So you've
that's
affected a minimum 10 people in your life.
Yeah, that's it, 100%. Like it's,
really,
and you see it in their faces how much it means, and they'll tell you how much it means that you're there. And
like that India show.
Yeah, that India show. Yeah, yeah. There's a whole bunch of them that are like that. Like it's really, really awesome, and they're the most rewarding shows you play as well. And it's
and having that book now as well, you can kind of historically kind of categorize and like look back and reflect on what you've actually done as well, which is really special.
Yeah, it's nice. It was
rather than just hanging your lanyards everywhere.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy putting that stuff together for the book, because we had to give Callum, our friend who made it, like all the stuff, and he was like, "Where's the laminates?" And I was like, "Oh, I got a box of them," and tipped them out. And I was like, Jesus, I can remember when I had one of these, and it's just piles of them. So it's a pretty crazy process to actually physically be able to hold those memories in your hand, like the photos and the lanyards and the merch and all that kind of stuff. Everything we put in there was cool, like having physically something to hold.
And like whatever date, whatever venue it is, you're like, oh shit, something crazy will happen.
That
was that day. That was that day.
It's really weird because Chode is like a human dictionary, encyclopedia for Parkway. He knows every date and where we were on that show. It's really bizarre. We'll be able to say, like, 2007, April 11th, where were we? And he'll say, like, within like 30 seconds exactly where we were, and a story that went along with it.
Savant for
yeah,
Parkway.
It's really weird. I guess he's a savant that somehow only manages to sell merch for us, but he is. Yeah, it's crazy. So it was really weird. Like, he was a fact checker for a lot of stuff for us. Like, we'd throw around ideas and stories and stuff, and I'm like, when did that happen? And we just go, Chode, here's the date, and he'd say, oh, it was blah blah blah, middle of Austria somewhere or other, and someone fell off a bridge, and you're like, okay, cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because like we can confirm that then.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I mean, so as I said, unless you live under a rock, we know it's your 10-year milestone. Rather than rehashing all the amazing experiences you've had, what are ones you'd rather forget, hilarious or otherwise?
There's not really many ones that I want to forget. Put it that way. It's I think we went into this whole experience of being in a band with very positive intentions, and everything that's happened's been positive, even the negative stuff. Like, there's a handful of times where I've gone, this is shit.
Really hard.
Yeah, just bad situations. Like, it's just been like straight up bad situations which no one will want to be in. But there's been literally a handful of those, and that's it. And we managed to get through them. And it's been, I think, the only times when it's really sucked has been like being away and like having family members pass away or friends pass away and stuff like that. Like the kind of stuff where it's not that you don't want to be in the band, it's just there's somewhere else that you really wanted to be at that point in time.
It's difficult because you don't really want to challenge or reevaluate your priorities, but there's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do. It's those situations where things are literally taken out of your hands, and the thing is, you could have been in any other job and that same thing happening. I could be at home, and unless you're right next to the person, you'd still be feeling regret of some kind. So it's just that. But other than that, like, I think we've always taken everything as a challenge and everything as an adventure. Like, as bad as
adventure.
That's it. That's the whole thing's been an adventure, and we've always had people say, especially after watching the DVDs, like, man, I respect you guys so much, sleeping on the ground. You guys did it so hard, and like thanks. That's nice that you feel that way. But at the time, like, we didn't really think of it as hard. Like, it was a rough night's sleeping on the concrete, but at the same time, we were on the other side of the world having the time of our lives. So it wasn't like
And
yeah.
then, those are the things that you do value, because you
Yeah,
know, not
100%.
everybody can be like supermassive rock stars, and there are moments, obviously, where you're like, holy shit, how did I get here?
Well,
What am I doing? You know?
and it makes those moments even crazier. But we would never. There's never been that pot of gold at the end of being a supermassive rock star. Like that, we literally have started out saying we're never going to be anything bigger than a local band, and that's it. And then as it's grown, there's always been that ceiling in front of us, simply because we're a really heavy band fronted by a dude just screaming at people. Like no one saw the explosion of this music coming.
10 years ago, absolutely.
100%.
And it's been, and especially now, it's really, really exciting. And I was going to ask you, you know, if you're going to hand out like a Badass Award of the Year for, you know, especially for the young talent in this country, because especially in the last 2 years, it's been really, really exciting.
Yeah.
And, who do you reckon's really killing it?
I think Northland are really killing it.
I think like universal. Like,
it is, and I think they deserve it. And internationally, especially those guys, like as of like 6 months ago, like we'd play shows and all people would say, I was like, when is Northland coming over? I was like, shit, that's really tight. And I respect those guys even more because they have worked their ass off in Australia as well. They've done a very similar thing to what we did, but they didn't do it with us. They just went and played all these places, and a bunch of places we never played before, just because they wanted to and kids wanted to see them. And they've toured their asses off, and it's great that people support them, and they make great music, and people recognise that worldwide. So they're blowing up overseas. Yeah, it's cool.
People at home have no idea, but anyway, so like the thing about Australia, it is this isolation. It kind of pushes bands to kind of like support each other, and the thing is, if you've got 6-7 bands are just as good as each other, and not to make yourselves think that you're going to be better than that band, but they kind of push you to work harder.
100%.
And like Australia's a bit of a melting
Definitely,
pot.
and it worked for us with Prom Queen especially. Originally, like Prom Queen gave us a massive leg up at the start, and they were always killing it. And there was Prom Queen and Day Contempt, and we were always looking at those guys going, man, they're playing these venues, and this is what's possible. And there was benchmarks being set. So. And
Jonah said that at that time, like, you know, it was really, really hard because no one could fuck coming out to Australia. Like, no one cared about Australian music, and he'd probably, like, he was, you know, being the businessman, he'd be like begging Americans to come out. And now they're like trying to get on our tours.
Yeah, 100%. It's crazy to watch the flip happen. Because like you'd do when American bands did come out, an Australian band would get a support. And it was lucky to get that, and that's one thing that Graham at Resist did fantastic. Every time he brought an American band out, he put out on the local Australian support to make sure that the local scene got pushed up as well. And it's crazy to watch that flipped over now. Like Australian bands headline and they bring over an American support because Australian bands are killing it in this country. So it's cool.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're like half asleep, and so am I.
I'm all right. So yeah.
Now you have to go play some rock music.
Yeah, rock on.
Jesus Christ, I'm 28 years old. I don't know why I'm speaking like I'm 47. But some rock music at the concert.
Gonna go play a rock gig.
Yeah. My mum's Slovakian, and she's like, so like she like tells her friends at work and I suppose there's like a language barrier. She's like, she works at rock concerts in the rock industry. I'm like, Mum, cute.
Rock and roll concerts.
Yeah.
That's sweet.